Assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. These assaults were at times witnessed by others and included one instance at a Los Angeles hotel in or about March 2016, which was captured on video and later publicly reported, where Combs kicked, dragged, threw a vase at a woman as she was attempting to leave. When a member of the hotel security staff intervened, Combs attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. Combs' violence was also...
Welcome to Pegasus vs. the World, where we take on challenges, comedy, trending topics, travel.
City boy! City boy!
All right, this whole Diddy thing is getting kind of hot right now. So it looks like it's in this live feed right here. It says details of P. Diddy's indictment released after his arrest. So they're going over some of this stuff, and I thought it'd be interesting just to talk about this briefly because there's a lot here.
Not limited to these women, it extended to his employees, witnesses to his abuse, and others. What do you make of that?
I think people are going to get maybe upset with me, so I apologize for this, but I was actually talking about this earlier. Obviously, I put the blame squarely on Diddy for the abuse that he leveled against these women. But there are bystanders who encouraged this to happen, who allowed this to happen, and who accept bribes from him. And I understand the whole idea that people are scared. But you know what? I took on one of the largest private schools in this country for abuse, an individual downloading porn. And so, you know, I think sometimes we have to take the not safe route to protect other people and to protect these women. And so in my opinion, those witnesses and bystanders, I feel like they need to be held accountable as well.
You know, it's interesting because it says this is Tracy Walder, former CIA and FBI, which is there's this, you know, people have been insinuating, and again, I'm not saying this is true or false, that Diddy was a CIA asset, you know, kind of like the whole, what's the dude's name? Epstein situation. This is very interesting how it's unfolding. You know, I grew up huge fan of Biggie Smalls. Huge fan. Huge. Starting to see things online where I'm like, interesting. I was watching the Big Papa video. I love it when they call me Big Papa. And I know New York has always been like super progressive. I didn't really realize that because I grew up in Colorado. And, you know, as I'm getting older, I'm seeing some of the messaging. But I thought it was original, or I thought it was, I got to work on, I say it's interesting for everything. I got to find a new word and, you know. But anyway, this whole Big Papa video, the lead lady in that video looked kind of interesting to me. Then I look online, and there's rumors that that lead lady potentially was a male. I thought that was interesting. And I was like, is that true or false? I haven't been able to really dive into those allegations and really just study for it. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. But the one thing I did remember in the Big Papa video is the lady going into the men's bathroom with a skirt and peeing in the men's urinal. And I was like, starting to think like, why was that in Big Papa's like biggest single? Is it because they thought it was funny or something? I don't know. But I started thinking, you know, little symbols here and there popping up. Did I miss things, right? The shooting in the club, they blamed on Shine. You know, his relationship with J-Lo. You start to wonder how many people got abused. You know, there was a young lady, I'm not going to say her name. She's from Colorado Springs, okay? And I don't know if it was Danity Kane or whatever, but she was like in the top 6 or 7. And she was on that show where they were making the female, the girl band type of thing. I think it was Danity Kane. I could be incorrect. But anyway, yeah. It makes me want to reach out to her and be like, yo, did you see? Because she was on the show. Remember the cats who went and got the cheesecake? This is the thing. When you see what he did to Cassie in that video, I'm not here to cast judgment, but what I will say is typically if someone was that comfortable doing that in that moment, they've done it before. So you start to wonder, how many times did he do that to Cassie? How many times has he done that to women? How many times has he done that to men? Because, you know, there's a lot of allegations out there flying around about him, you know. I think it was even trying to fight J. Cole. Or was it Drake? I don't know. But regardless, seems like, you know, there is a lot going on. But, you know, Diddy got arrested last night. I'm recording this in the morning. I saw it, but I was like, I'm not recording this tonight. They are waiting to do like some type of press conference outside of the indictment thing. I have it up right now if they pop on, because it's been on for over an hour. But I think it's interesting. Let's see what else they're saying here, though.
One of the things that I am noticing from this as well is, you know, there's certain sections, and I'm going to let you go because I know you have to go, Tracy. It talks about from at least in or about 2008 that this enterprise was started. It doesn't go so much into the 90s specifically, and a lot of the lawsuits that were facing Sean Combs are about alleged conduct in the 90s. So I'm not entirely clear whether or not that's actually a part of this indictment or not. What do you make of that?
You know, I'm not an attorney, but part of me wonders, you would know more than I, if statute of limitations had run out on some of them, and that's why they were civil suits and then not part of the indictment. But then they use that information from the civil suits, right, to build a case with the more recent allegations. And so that's what I make of that.
Yeah, it's definitely possible that could be a consideration. I will tell you, though, it's not like these are all just allegations of federal crimes. There are allegations of violations of state crimes that make up that underlying conspiracy. Tracy Walder, thank you for coming on. I know you got a busy day. Really appreciate your perspective. And let's touch base later in the week as we learn a little bit more from this.
Thank you, Jesse.
You got it. So I think we have to take another quick break, but
My bad. My dog was screaming. I thought they were fighting. I got my adrenaline rush immediately, but I have this one dog who just... Anyways, this is about Diddy, not my French bulldogs. I have this French bulldog, Wu-Tang. He gets super anxiety when you're not up there just right next to him. He can't be by your leg or sit in your lap. He just starts howling. And I thought my other dog, Shaolin, was attacking him, the other French bulldog. But that's not what happened. He was just howling because I'm recording. Anyways, you guys get to see that live. How quick, the quick reaction. Dude, I'm all kind of, anyways. All right, Diddy. There's so much here, you guys. And you start to wonder and question when. So these typically things start young. They start when people are young. Doesn't just show up later. Like the shit we're seeing is the peak of it, right? So some of this had to be going on at some capacity in the 90s when he was starting the label, and even before, trying to reach the heights, you know, or maybe he didn't have the power, money, and resources to do certain things, but there was still something at a base level that started this, and typically it starts young. And I'm very curious on when this all really started. You know, this is also me growing up as a fan. Like, I was never a fan of P. Diddy as a rapper, but as a mogul, an entertainer, I like some of the songs. You know, they're coming out with Mace and Biggie. I love the Locks. Like, there were a lot of things that were coming out, and it's very unique, man, because you saw the Locks were like, nah, we can't rock with Diddy. We got to get out of here, get out of these shiny suits, you know, and those were some street dudes. And I don't know. This sparks my curiosity in the sense of this is what I grew up. Like, I grew up listening to Biggie and Pac. I grew up in the bad boy era. I remember I used to DJ to hustle extra money because I'm not a DJ, but I figured out how to play music at a club, blah, blah, blah. And I'd play Diddy tracks. They were big. They were big at the time. This is very interesting to see it all unfold.
We have a full panel today to break down everything that's happening. And again, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern is when we expect a press conference from federal authorities, including the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Damian Williams, who will go into a little bit more depth about this indictment and how it went about. Again, this is a grand jury indictment that was returned against Sean Combs. It was unsealed today, facing 3 counts. If convicted, he could potentially face decades in prison. Jesse Weber will be right back right after this.
Do you guys think he is going to get decades in prison? It is just wild because we saw that we saw what happened to is this still live or did it stop? It stopped. We saw what happened to R. Kelly. We saw what happened to R. Kelly. It's crazy. See, this is the one. I have this rolling. This is the live outside NY court as Sean P. Diddy Combs is indicted on trafficking and racketeering charges. So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, as I watch all this unfold, I try to be fair because, you know, whenever stuff crazy happens, I'm always like innocent until proven guilty. I try to hold that stance. But it's like when I saw what he did to Cassie, my immediate response was like guilty. You know, my human emotional response was guilty. Lock this MF up. This ain't the first time he did it. There's other shit going on, right? But that's not how law works. It's not how our system works. And to be fair, we've all had dark moments. Now, I ain't never, ever in my life hit a woman. I will never hit a woman. These are things that I guess you say never if you were in some crazy situation where you're fighting for your life, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But all I'm saying is what I saw from his behavior was very unacceptable in my rule book. And I don't know, there's no excuse for that type of behavior. And I don't know. I struggle getting on here calling the pot calling the kettle black because we've all had our issues, but in different ways, right? Like I have vices as well as anyone else, right? And who is to deem what vice is worse or not worse? This is definitely not anything that I'm into. I do struggle casting judgment or criticizing people when I know that I'm not a saint. But I do my best to try to be a good man and an example. Fudge. This is just wild. This is wild. You got to think. The S word, trafficking and racketeering charges. And they're really going after him. They're really taking the time. So we're going to see how this pans out. Maybe in a few months or a year or two, we'll have the conversation on the outcome. But as of now, P. Diddy has been arrested. And there's many different ideas. You know, when people were coming out with those conspiracies, oh, he's a CIA asset. With the way this could potentially come down on him, it makes you wonder, is that true? You know? I mean, anything's possible these days, but I think stuff like that will get whisked out. We'll see. They say he might have stuff to blackmail people because of the parties. There's a lot here. I mean, I'm just kind of touching the surface. We talking about, we saw Cassie getting beat down by him in a hotel. You know, there's a bunch of allegations for a bunch of stuff. So I don't really go crazy because the allegation is still an allegation. I try to be fair. But again, we did see him beat up Cassie, and that's not an allegation. We saw it with our own eyes. We visualized it. And when you see that type of stuff, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Anyways, you guys, let me know what you think about this Diddy situation. Do you think he's just an evil person who, you know, started slowly as bad, turned to evil, had a lot of money and power, so he had resources to capitalize on these evil ventures? Do you think he was some type of central intelligence asset in trying to turn people and influence things? It's very interesting what we see here in this world. Yeah. Anyways, this ain't a news channel. I just cover the trending topics from time to time. This is one where I'm like, bro, this is music, something I listen to. It's kind of like a crazy topic, so I wanted to check it out. But I'm not hype about watching a bunch of stuff like this on my channel. I think I'd rather do comedy, some travel vlogs, stuff like that. So we'll see where things go. But, yeah, still love to hear from y'all.
City boy, city boy.